Hello and welcome back to the Extra Innings Baseball Show. I'm your host, Logan Stump, and with me today is the Camden Yard Bandit, Jordan Wiegand.
Hello.
Once again, stealing all that electricity and time in Camden Yards. You know, Jordan, you're going to have to move out in like a week.
They can afford it.
Can they, though?
They're not even sending anybody on the road. They can afford it.
I was going to say you're going to get really crowded up there in the press box on like away games because all your like broadcasters are still going to be up there in the booth.
Yes, yeah, this is where they call the game from. Yeah, they call it right here, actually. Yeah.
Oh, all right, Jordan. It is March 31st. Day we're recording this. We are a week out from baseball. Man, baseball is back. We are back. We didn't think we'd be back, Jordan. I think we thought maybe in May. We thought that might be realistic. But man, it's back. We're back next week. How excited are you? Are you looking forward to anything? Do you have like an opening day ritual that you do? Like, is there something that you do on opening day every year, or is it just going through the motions and kind of figure it out?
So if I usually do not have tickets to the game, I like to go either take the day off or if it's a weekday, like to take the day off and get some food somewhere and watch the game. So beforehand, I didn't have cable in my new house. So for a while there, it was like, I think the 2020 shortened season, I went with my dad to Miller's Ale House and we watched the game there. And the year before that, what was that? 2019? Well, what did I do last year? 2021. I think I took off and watched the game. But then 2019 was rough. Yeah, I don't think I got the day off. I'm not sure what happened there. But 2020, I did have the day off originally, and then COVID happened.
Right.
So everything shut down.
I mean, you did have that day off eventually. I mean, or maybe you worked from home.
No, I was working from home, yeah. But I did have that day off beforehand. But what I usually do is like to get some food somewhere. So like when I worked at the bank, I actually got off work early, and because the games are always 3:00 for the O's opening day, and then stopped on my way home, got a sub, some fries, sat down and watched it. That was 2018. 2018 I took off too, I think, because I got some food and got my Thanos Funko Pop, and I posted a picture of that. That just came up on my time hop recently. But it's usually what I do is try to make a day out of it. I don't get to go to opening day a lot. This is probably going to be my third time going. And yes, I am going to opening day. Got my tickets for the Orioles opening day here at Camden Yards. So I'll probably be putting a lot of content out that day on Extra Innings Baseball Show, Twitter and Instagram, and probably over on the Word from the Warehouse, the Oriole feed that we're having. And just going to try to put some cool stuff up there for that. And yeah, that's pretty much what I like to do. Do you have anything that you like to do for opening day?
I always wear my Cubs stuff. Usually I have the day off, or I'll take the day off just to try to get myself prepared, mostly because the Cubs usually play at like 2:20 or 1:10. Like the Cubs always have an opening day that's early. Like we never play the night game usually at night. Or I think 2020 might have been the first time that I can remember that the Cubs, the first game was on at night, and I think it was against the Brewers in 2020. There were no fans, but usually the Cubs open. It's usually against the Pirates or the Brewers, and go figure, we play the Brewers again this year. But yeah, it'll be a 2:20
That's who mine's
start.
against.
Yeah, right. It's so confusing to me. It's like, wait, what? But yeah, so the Brewers will be heading out to Camden? Like, do they go right to Camden, or is it?
The Brewers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they go from
Chicago to Camden.
Because you would start on, what day are you starting?
We start Thursday the 7th, yeah. So yeah,
you probably have Thursday off, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday would be here for the Orioles.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I knew we usually do like if you play Thursday, you're off Friday, or if you play, I don't like that.
Thankfully, me neither. Thankfully, this year the O's start Friday.
Right.
And we get Friday, Saturday, Sunday, at Tampa and then go Monday to Camden Yards.
Because usually you get into the season, you're like, all right, I'm pumped, and then
you're like, oh
you're
no,
like, all right, wait.
especially baseball, which is a sport where you play it every day.
Yeah.
To go from opening day to the next day of nothing, you're like, really?
Yep. But no, I think I don't know. I just like to chill out and watch baseball all day. I think that's pretty much just my go-to. I always wear my Cubbies stuff, and I always think the Cubs are going to win the World Series. So naturally, I mean, I'm not going to predict them to win it, but everybody, right? You kind of open that day out and you think your team has got the chance. And speaking of, well, Jordan maybe not, but Logan, yes, there's always that hope. I think.
Here's the sad thing. Here's my goal. Right? Is don't lose 100.
Don't be
That's
embarrassing.
my goal this year. Don't lose 100 games.
I feel like you guys are like that kid that goes out to eat, and the parents are like, "I promise, if you don't embarrass us tonight, we will do something to reward you later on." And you're like that problem child that's always like, I don't know if I believe you. I'm going to test the limits to see if I can really embarrass you. So, but anyway, Jordan, we're going to talk about teams maybe that have some hopes today. I mean, if you listen to our NL East and AL East, you're probably like, well, I mean, they already told us the World Series winner is going to come out of that. What do we need to listen to these teams for? I think it's going to be
see who they're going to beat.
Right. Right. And I don't think it's coming from this division, but maybe when we get to the West.
Yeah, maybe.
But Jordan, we're going to be previewing the AL Central and the NL Central. But before we get to that, I want you to get the opportunity to kind of put your show out there, your part of the podcast that you're getting ready to launch. And then I'm also going to be doing a show. So I guess this is a good time where we can both plug it very quickly. But what was yours again? What was your podcast called, and where can fans find it?
Yeah, just a moment. I was just preparing that. Oh,
okay. I'll call on mine.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I am doing Cubs Career. It was a blog. I had kept up with the blog. It was before COVID, but it was crazy to try to figure out. Only because if you know anything about writing for baseball, it is extremely difficult because it's every day, every single night. I think the podcast version is very easy. And plus, I think people are leaning more towards listening to podcasts now than they are actually reading. But I decided to switch it over, and now I'm doing the podcast. It's called Cubs Career. You can find it on anywhere you get your podcast, iTunes, whatever it might be. I'm hoping to have some kind of trailer up by tomorrow. And then I'm going to be doing a Cubs preview sometime next week in between all the previews and shows that we have next week. Because I just realized, Jordan, we still need to do one more show for the preview and then the preview. But the preview shouldn't be too long, I don't think, just because we've already predicted the divisions. So, but yeah, Cubs Career is mine. Jordan, if you want to give fans a little hint as to what's coming down the pipeline for you.
Yeah, no problem. So what I am doing, and I just got the logo today, so this worked out perfectly, is kind of I think I'm going to be doing a podcast on it as well. I haven't put anything up for it yet, but I did also in my description put blog and vlog. I think I might do some video vlogs like I've done for the bucket list, but I think I might do like my opening day, my day at opening day is probably fit more under the warehouse vlog than it would the bucket list, because I've already done that before in my life. So I think I might try to do something like that, but it is Word from the Warehouse, and you can find us on so far Twitter and Instagram at Warehouse Word. And it'll eventually be out on the podcast stuff as well. I just need to record something to get it sent over to all of the. Well, I'm going to put the Bob Phelan interview up on there, so that's going to, kind of translate to send all of it to all of the like Spotify, iTunes, and all that good stuff. But really excited for it. But I'm assuming I'll probably try to do 2 shows a week on that.
Yeah.
Might see if they have any guests on, stuff like that.
Yeah, that'll be fun too. The Cubs and the Orioles play each other this year, so.
And I'll be going to that game as well. I'll be going to one of the games.
That'll be a lot of fun. A little derby for those of you that are watching soccer. A little bit of a rivalry here on how about called a stateside? We are the Extra Inning Baseball Show. Speaking of baseball, let's get into it, Jordan. We're going to get into some news first. I want to get your thoughts on this International Home Run Derby that's been announced. From the description, that's the spirit with which Major League Baseball has just announced its brand new global bracket-style competition, Home Run Derby X, inspired by the success of MLB's Home Run Derby. 4 teams representing the Red Sox, Yankees, Dodgers, and Cubs will compete in this tournament, set to be played in London, Seoul, and Mexico City later this year. The teams are made up of a combination of former players, pro women's baseball, softball players, an influential content creator, and a player from the region's local development system, which is to say the Cubs will feature Giovanni Soto. Nick Swisher will be featured for the Yankees. Johnny Gomes is going to feature for, I'm going to say he featured, this is where I get mixed. Is he
Red
featuring
Sox.
for the Red Sox? Okay, yeah. I thought so. Because didn't Adrian Gonzalez also play for the Red Sox? That's where I got confused. Because
yes, he did. But yeah, he's the Dodger
Right,
legend. Yeah.
Right. So Adrian Gonzalez for the Dodgers. It's kind of crazy because in this, Jordan, there's some weird rules. They're going to go by points, and points are available both on offense and defense. Each batter has 1 at bat and 25 pitches. They'll be swinging for the fences while 2 of their opponents patrol the outfield. 2 of their opponents patrol the outfield. A home run scores 1 point for the offense, and catch is 1 point for the defense. Home Run Derby X, there is also additional ways to score. Inspired by video games, there's going to be target hits in the infield and beyond the fence, MVP 2005. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to go play it. Each batter also has a hot streak, 5 consecutive pitches where home runs and target hits count as double, but a catch in the hot streak is a double points for the defense. And then 4 teams will compete in a bracket-style competition based on where they finish each of the events, and will be awarded points to determine their position on the leaderboard. The leaderboard will determine seedings for the final event and the tour, which will be played as a knockout competition to determine the Home Run Derby X Tour champions. All in all, Jordan, what are your thoughts on this? You and I texted about it. A lot to kind of wrap your head around because it's very funky. I don't think people understand it until we get it.
This is not what I meant when I said we wanted to go to a point system for baseball. I didn't mean a home run derby with points. Look, it can go either way. The issue is, well, they got one issue. I'm probably not watching this.
Mm-hmm.
The second issue is you're only representing 4 teams, right? Why does an Oriole fan watch this?
Right.
Especially 2 of them are our most hated rivals. It's like, why would I ever watch this?
Right.
Third issue is, will this actually grow the game in those cities? I don't think so, because you talked about, we do a soccer podcast. Imagine if the way Chelsea and Manchester United grew the game was to come over here, instead of having friendlies with the rules, they come over here and just do a penalty shootout style tournament. I'm not sure that would get anybody excited, because here's the thing. They're going to get all excited about home runs, but then home runs can also not happen in a game.
Right.
When I went to see, the O's versus the Phillies in September, there was no home runs. It was a nice day for a home run too, but there was no home runs. So you're like getting them enticed in something that may not actually ever happen, and not like the nuance of the game. So they might join in thinking, oh, this is awesome, they're hitting home runs all the time. But then they watch a game and they're like, this is not what I was shown.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think that's a big issue. Now, maybe it's just making it more exciting, and maybe people will be interested and then actually do the research to look into what this sport is. But I mean, I follow a lot of the UK accounts, like UK fan club accounts of some of the baseball teams. I think it's interesting getting their perspectives. And they do understand the rules because they're the diehards, but I don't know how much a casual is going to really care after watching this Home Run Derby X.
You know what I thought would have been a better idea? Taking like 4 teams like they do with the NFL, and then taking them the week before the All-Star break and taking them to an international country and having them play. because I felt like that would be more enticing for fans because, one, those are awful days in the summer where it's just grinding out games. What fun would it be to take them over there and then have them play in Seoul or in Mexico City, like kind of like the Field of Dreams? Take a series for 4 teams and have them go play London and Seoul, or Seoul and Italy, or wherever they're going to play, right? Like, why not do that? But this is just this is so gimmicky. It's like, ugh, I just hate it.
Can I pitch an idea to help
Yeah, go ahead.
grow the game? Club World Cup.
There you go.
We got the World Baseball Classic, but do it with clubs the way FIFA does with the Club World Cup. If you win your pennant, the AL and the NL pennant, you qualify for the Club World Cup for baseball. You go to against the winner of Japan, the winner of Korea, the winner of the Mexican League, all these leagues that exist, and we do this, like, I don't know, round robin style tournament, or a seeded bracket where both of the AL winners on one side of the bracket, the NL winners on another side of the bracket, and then you have the other teams kind of fill in there, and we do best of 3 series. I don't know. I mean, that could be fun.
Yeah.
It's all about where you would fit this in at, but I think that could help grow it, because then you're going to go see your local team go play against the big boys, you know, and in a meaningful game compared to just like a friendly or whatever. And then, you know, it adds another trophy that a team can win. I feel like one thing we don't have enough over here, right, is opportunities to win stuff. You know, all of our sports, it's you win the one thing and that's all that matters. But if you look at the soccer structure over in other countries, they have side cups, they have all these other cups, you know, that I think could be fun. But with baseball having 162 games, it's tough to fit that in there. But I don't know, maybe then they do it in spring training. Some people want to shorten spring training as it is, so maybe you take a couple weeks out of spring training to go do this thing. And like I said, you'd have maybe you host it over here, or maybe you host it in London, or you host it in Korea. I'm trying to think. London might be best because you would have better TV numbers probably than if it was late night in Japan or Korea and all that. But I mean, you'd get the Korean and Japan fans over there. That'd be fun. Like, I don't know. There's ways to do this to make it work and be interesting. They'll never do it. The players union would probably never agree to that.
No, but it just seemed like a really cheap shot to try and just figure out something like this, and this is what they came up with. All right.
And the legends are not even legends. So that's the main problem, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Adrian Gonzalez is probably the biggest name on this list.
Yes.
Nick Swisher, Johnny Gomes. I think Johnny Gomes is like a 3-WAR player, I saw somebody say. So, I mean, none of these people are like legends.
Right. They're going to pass them off as legends, and it's weird. But
yeah, and I'm not even sure if I know Giovanni Soto.
Yeah, well. He caught for the Cubs for a little bit before Wilson.
I think I know the name. I'm not sure if I can pick him out of a lineup, though.
Probably not. All right. More exciting news, though. Apple TV Plus. Apple TV Plus is your home for doubleheader MLB action every Friday night this season, Jordan. And on Tuesday, the first half of the schedule of games was announced. It is free for the first half of the season. Then you're going to have to pay for it. But Friday night baseball games, Jordan, going to be available anywhere you can get Apple Plus. So gaming to consoles, Macs, iPads, iPhones, whatever it might be.
Roku.
Roku.
Fire Stick.
Here's where it's going to get really nice for these international countries, Jordan. This is at least a step in the right direction. It's going to be broadcasted in not only the United States, but Canada, Australia, Brazil, Japan, Mexico, Puerto Rico, South Korea, and the United Kingdom. And that's without a need for the subscription for a limited time. So what are your thoughts on this? Apple TV finally getting in the game and getting us some Friday night games, which I felt like was really lacking in this kind of setup, because we've got Saturday, we got Sunday Night Baseball, we got Monday Night Baseball. They started doing some Tuesday stuff. But what are your thoughts on Apple TV doing this for Friday?
I think the Tuesday games are going to be on Peacock, actually. I think they made a deal. But because ESPN sold off their Friday and Tuesday games, which is how this package got created. So this is, I think, good. I saw a lot of people upset about it. I need another subscription. No, for the first half of the season, you need nothing.
Right.
Now, I can understand being upset in the sense of you're not going to get your local guys. You can't just also watch it on locally. You have to watch it on here. Baseball is an old sport. There's going to be some people that have no idea how to get Apple Plus, Apple
like,
TV Plus running on their TV. There's going to be people that my dad could probably not figure it out, but luckily he's already set up with Apple Plus.
Yeah.
But some people would have issues with that or finding it or being able to do any of that. The good thing is you don't need to be in the Apple ecosystem anymore. Once they change to Apple TV Plus, you can watch this stuff and sign up however, just like any other service. 2, you can now I get another I think this will be our second, it'll be the first one of the season, but our second total out of the announced nationally televised Oriole games.
Yeah.
So there we go. We got one against we got the baseball Little League Classic that I know is for sure scheduled, and we got this one. I don't think Fox has scheduled us yet on any of them. So there we go for that. And I think that it is just exciting that it's free, and they're including the pre and post game for free.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to get out to more people. I know some of the overseas people were actually upset because they usually buy MLB.TV over there, and this is not included in that. So they would have to then have Apple TV as well.
Right.
But again, the first 12 weeks is free. So if your team's not in it in the second half of the season, or you don't care enough to watch every single game, you can skip it. But Friday night baseball should always have been a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like all I could do on Fridays is watch the O's. It's really tough to find other games. I know ESPN had it at one point, but I think they'd really slacked off recently of showing a lot of these, or maybe
never double headers.
They were only on ESPN Plus at a certain point too. They weren't like on regular ESPN at times. But ESPN has so many sports they have to show. Apple has none. This is going to help build this out for Apple, I think. And I'm excited to see how it is. I'm excited to see if they get any big talent to come in here and do that. So looking forward to how that goes.
Yeah, and anytime Apple steps in, Apple could start stepping into stadiums, and that would be massive for probably every consumer that has an iPhone or an Apple Watch or whatever it might be. But you were speaking of the teams that are going to be playing. I'll just read them out really quickly. New York Mets at the Nationals, and Astros Angels on the 8th of April. April 15th, Tampa Bay Rays versus the White Sox. Cincinnati versus the Dodgers. April 22nd, the St. Louis Cardinals versus the Cincinnati Reds. Texas Rangers at Oakland. And then the 29th, Yankees at the Royals, Nationals at the Giants. May 6th, the White Sox versus the Red Sox. Rays at the Mariners. May 13th, Padres versus the Braves. Cubs at the Diamondbacks. 20th of May, Cardinals, Pirates. Rangers at the Astros. May 27th, Orioles, Jordan, there they are, at the Red Sox. Blue Jays at the Los Angeles Angels. June 3rd, Tigers at the Yankees. Braves at the Rockies. Friday, June 10th, Minnesota Twins and the Rays square off in Minnesota. Mets at the Angels. June 17th, White Sox versus the Houston Astros in Houston. Guardians at the Dodgers. And then June 24th, the Cubs-Cardinals rivalry takes place, and the Tigers versus the Diamondbacks. Looks like, Jordan, those games are mostly going to be 7 o'clock and 9:30 or 6 o'clock and 10. It depends on the time, but those all going to be night games. But again, like you said, Friday nights coming home, kicking back, relaxing, and getting a doubleheader on Apple TV or Apple TV Plus. I always want to say Apple Plus TV.
And what a great first week, right? Mets, Scherzer, right. Scherzer's first game as a Met against the Nats. And then Astros versus Angels with Shohei and hopefully Mike Trout, right? I don't know if Trout's healthy. I guess he is.
We don't ever know.
I haven't looked it up yet. That's next week when we preview the West.
Right, and that can change day to day with Mike, unfortunately. Yeah. So, but anything else to add? I agree. Like I enjoy this. I get I get excited thinking about Friday night baseball now. Like I always look forward to Monday night baseball or Sunday night too, and it was just like, those are Sunday and Monday. That sucks. But this is like,
Yeah,
dude, Friday. I'm getting home from work, and I don't want to do anything on Friday nights. This is great. So, all
it
right,
will be great. Yeah.
let's kick it off, Jordan. Let's do it. AL Central, here we come. Chicago White Sox finished first, 93 and 69 last year. Lost in the ALDS to the Astros. Cleveland Guardians, 80 and 82. New team coming in hot, changing the team's name, thinking they'll change their luck. Detroit Tigers, 77 and 85 in third place. The Royals, 74 and 88. Minnesota Twins, 73rd and 89. They took home the wooden spoon in the AL Central. Jordan, White Sox, notable additions. How do you say that? Hazley? Hey, Hazley?
Yeah, Hasley.
Hasley? Okay. Louis Garcia, Joe Kelly, Josh Harrison, Kendall Graveman. Notable subtractions: Tim Beckham, not to be confused with David, and then McKinley Moore traded to Philadelphia. Jordan, White Sox. I think last year, from what I can remember at the beginning of the season, many projected them to be one of those dark horses, if not one of those title contenders that really they thought could take over and win this division and win the AL pennant. But it really just didn't pan out. I know they had some notable injuries last season, and they've had some issues with, I think, clubhouse. They've had some issues with chemistry. But what are your thoughts on some of these maybe additions, subtractions, maybe some thoughts from last year that you had? And I know you always get to see more AL games. Anything notable that you want to say before we just kind of get into the roster and stuff?
I mean, they got a great bullpen. They got, they got some good players. Now, they're actually going to be down Tim Anderson for the first 2 games. He got a suspension for some sort of kerfluffle that happened in September where they suspended him 2 games and a $10K fine. So looks like that they're going to be missing one of their star players to start off the year, but it's only 2 games in a long season. I think they're going to be pretty good still, especially when you look at the rest of the Central. Now, the only issue is everybody's talking them up a lot last year, and then you look at their record, 93 wins. If they're in the AL East, they're not even first place, right? Tampa had like 100 wins. Then you had, I think, Yankees and Red Sox with 92, and then you have 91 wins for Toronto. So I feel like, of course, some of it is probably that weaker division, but, I think that they can still be good. I think that they can still win this division. I think their stiffest competition is probably going to come from another team that we're going to talk about here in a few minutes, the Minnesota Twins. You're on mute.
There we go.
There
couldn't
you go.
get to the button. It was behind. I hate when I put it
See, now
behind
imagine
tabs.
people trying to find Apple TV Plus.
Right. Yeah, you got a 29-year-old that can't even find the right
the
mute
unmute button.
Right. But no, what I was going to say is that being a North Sider and watching this team next door kind of grow into its own has been kind of interesting because, you got Tony La Russa. He steps in. He's never been, I think he's never been really that much of a player manager. He's much more of like, it's my way, the highway kind of thing. And I think ultimately, this team benefits from having him. But I do think that there are times where some of the issues that are caused with some of these players, and I know Tim Anderson has had some run-ins with Tony La Russa. I know that multiple people on this roster have had some kind of issues with Tony La Russa. And I can't remember, was it Minkata that had the issues with him last year? I think it was. There was somebody at the beginning of the season last year that had really big beef with Tony, and I think it was Minkata, but I can't remember.
No, it was Yerman Mercedes.
Oh, okay.
He retired though. I guess no, I don't know. He got sent down, retired, and I guess he came back.
Yeah.
Let me check to see. He's on the injured list, so yes, he is still part
on
of
the
their team.
roster. Yeah.
But yeah, he tore it up in the first
Mm-hmm.
little bit of the season. I think he was rookie of the month in April, and he, swung at a 3-0 pitch that upset
That's what it was.
Tony
Yeah,
Lewis.
that's what it was.
It was crazy. And we said Lurie Garcia was a notable addition. They
Mm-hmm.
must have re-signed him because I'm looking and it says they've had him since 2013. So I think they re-signed him for a 3-year deal, but also they've added Josh Harrison at second. I'm not sure if we mentioned that. But yeah, overall, not a lot of additions. The biggest addition, Joe Kelly, to help
Mm-hmm.
add to that bullpen even more, which is really interesting.
Yeah, Jordan, they're. We'll go through a little bit of their lineup, but I do, like you said, I want to kind of go through what you mentioned with that bullpen: Liam Hendricks, Craig Kimbrell, Aaron Bummer, or Boomer. I don't know. I don't know if I'm calling it the wrong thing. Kendall Graveman, Garrett Crochet, Jose Ruiz, Ronaldo Lopez, Ryan Burr, Matt Foster, Vince Velasquez, and then you add in like a Joe Kelly. And this team, Jordan, I mean, you're looking at this roster and you're going, man, that is a stacked bullpen. I know Craig Kimbrell had really big issues after he was traded from the Cubs, coming to the White Sox, being a setup man. And people always ask, like, what's the difference? I mean, it's just the eighth and the ninth. It's a lot different. When you come in the eighth, it's not the momentum and the adrenaline that's really pumping through your veins like it is in the ninth. And I think that's where a lot of what happened to Craig. I mean, Craig was one of the best closers in the game, and really kind of returned to that form back with the Cubs. But when he was traded to the Sox, I mean, I thought many people were in the same belief as I, where we thought, this White Sox team is going to make a run, and all you need is a closed down bullpen in the postseason. But it just didn't turn out that way. I mean, they really did struggle to get outs. They had a hard time getting through that bullpen, and kind of putting it in a place where they could be very successful and win some games. And when they got bounced, I think there was a lot of people that were shocked. I mean, I thought the Astros were good, but I thought that at least the White Sox could kind of put up a fight. But towards the end of the season, they really did fall off. But yeah, they're just kind of looking at that roster too. I mean, like you said, they've got some really good pieces. They add in, some good pieces, Josh Harrison. But I think that they've had a set roster. They've kind of had these guys that they're set on. It kind of reminds me of the Cubs of old, where they kind of have this core where, I mean, there's some, make or break years in these guys. And I think that if they can at least push it up over the hump, they can get a really good season out of some of these guys. But again, it's all going to be relying on Tim Anderson's health. Can he stay healthy? Can he stay on the field? Can he stay out of trouble? He's very vocal, I know, in the locker room. I know they've had issues with that in the past, where he says a little too much, I think, at times, where it can kind of rub the manager the wrong way. And La Russa's not really one you go head to head with. But Jose Abreu, I mean, Yohan Moncada, and then you also have Eloy Jimenez, pretty decent bats in that middle of the order. But again, it's going to be about consistency, I think, with the White Sox. All righty. Anything else on the Sox before we move on?
No, I think we're good to go barefoot here.
All right. So let's go, Jordan, to a team that made a massive addition, massive in the sense of they'll no longer be called the Cleveland Indians. They're going to now be called the Cleveland Guardians. Huge sign went in, big, really nice sign. And I was just kind of waiting for them to put like Rocket and Groot and Star-Lord. Like I was thinking they were going to start putting people in behind it.
Can they run out on the field to Hooked on a Feeling? That would be great, by the way.
Jordan, I think that is solid. Like we should tweet at them and say, "Hey, we've got an idea. Okay, we've got an idea for you."
I'm sure they're so tired of hearing about it. They're like, why'd we choose this again?
Yeah, but I all of a sudden I just like imagine like the song coming on, Cleveland running out to Hooked on a Feeling, and then you got somebody like a Shane Bieber with the really long like sideburns, like Star-Lord, just like absolutely jamming with his Walkman.
There you go.
Like, there's a solid. But yeah, Jordan. Other than that, the only other addition they really made was Brian Shaw. And to be honest, that's pretty underwhelming for a team, Jordan, that we saw struggle last year to kind of get over that hump and get above the 500 mark. And without any really key additions, I mean, it's hard to think that this team might be better than they were last year, right? I mean, it seems like this team was just kind of stuck in mud, and they continue to be stuck in mud. Um, any thoughts on the Guardians besides the change in name, or anything? Anybody on the roster that kind of sticks out to you that you're kind of looking forward to watching this year?
So even that addition
Yeah.
was made last year, and they re-signed him. It looks like so. It if you look at actual additions, it's Aniel de los Santos,
Hmm.
who's a non-roster invitee, and then Luke Mali, who is a catcher who has a strained hamstring. So they haven't really added that much at all, um, like we said. And I mean, I guess who you'd be looking at is somebody like a Jose Ramirez, right?
Hmm.
They've apparently it's been leaked. They're going to try to keep him in Cleveland as long as they can, but
For now.
there was also links of him being moved earlier this summer. I mean, or this spring. So I don't know. People talk about Orioles and stuff with low payroll
Hmm.
and all that. I mean, this team lost 82 games last year, and they've made no notable additions. While you have the Twins and Tigers adding a lot, this team can only go down,
Yeah.
and it sucks because it's a you would want people to kind of long for the days of the Guardians. Instead, you're gonna leave them wishing for the days of the Indians because
Hmm.
of how good that 2016 team was that your Cubs beat. But even last year was probably going to be better than this year is. And I feel like anytime you rebrand, we've talked about it on Stateside Soccer Show with some of these teams, you
Hmm.
want to make sure you hit the ground running with a rebrand because uh, you just don't want to mess it up. You just don't want to invite comparisons to how it was before or anything like that. So, especially in this type of rebrand where it's more of a racial issue.
Yeah.
I love the logo, by the way. uh, I can't wait. I'm supposed to go to Cleveland around July 4th weekend and catch a game there, and I'm really excited. Once they announced the name change and I dug it, I said I'm gonna go this year, the year they changed the name, because I think that'd be a pretty cool historic reason to go for my first Cleveland visit. And I don't know, maybe I'll get a hat with the G with the wings on it. I think it looks really
Hmm.
cool.
Yeah, so kind of looking back at their franchise, Jordan, the last World Series. Do you know when the Indians last won their World Series? Or sorry,
It's
the
like the
Guardians.
40s or 50s, right?
You were correct. 1948 was their last World Series win, and like you said, in 2016, I mean, Jordan, I thought looking at the Cubs where they were at that point in 2016, you rewind the clocks. I thought for sure that the Cubs and the Indians were destined for at least a couple more of those like battles. It felt much more like the Indians were going to be this team that kind of just they would have risen to this point of just being a top team in the AL, and then all of a sudden, it was like they collapsed. Just like I mean, it's shocking. And then if you kind of look at the payroll, like you'd mentioned, the payroll, Jordan, it's gone from 51 million to 57 million this year. So that tells you just how much or how little that the ownership seems to really put on this team. I mean, what they do, spend all their money on rebranding this team and getting new jerseys in. Like, is that ultimately, what is going to push this team forward? No, it's not. But you
From
had
what
to
I've
do it.
heard, they're in some sort of financial issues
Mhm.
owner wise. I'm not sure if they're trying to position to sell at some point,
Right.
which maybe is needed so that way they can actually get somebody who wants to put it out there. Because I mean, to go from a World Series in 2016 to this, it's kind of rough.
Hmm.
Believe me, I know 2014 ALCS to where we are, but uh, I don't know. I guess we'll see. Definitely not going to do much this year. Maybe they're setting aside stuff to get somewhere in 2023 or 2024.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Be interesting to see kind of where Shane Bieber lands, like how
Reach
much
out to
longer
us if
does
you're a
he?
Cleveland fan,
Right.
by the way. I want to kind
Yeah.
of get your thoughts on how frustrated you are with the owners, or thoughts on Guardians and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I don't know. I wonder how long Shane Bieber can stay, and I wonder how long that ownership can kind of stay and put and not really add much to this team. They seem to be stuck at the moment. But anything else before we move on to the Detroit Tigers? No. All righty. Detroit Tigers up next, and they did make some sizable additions. We'll just kind of go down the list here. Willie Peralta, Tucker Barnhart, Javier Baez, 6 years, 140 million, opt out after 2 years. Eduardo Rodriguez, Erod, 5 years, 77 million, opt out after 2 years. You're going to notice a trend here. Andrew Chafin, 2 years, 13 mil, opt out after 1 year. And then you've got Chase Anderson coming over as well. Jordan, want to get your thoughts on this first. You like these signings? I mean, this ultimately makes the Tigers better, right?
Yeah, I think so. Erod is somebody that I would love to see the Orioles go after since he's a former Oriole prospect, but whatever. Javi Baez, you know more about him than I do. I
Mm-hmm.
think he didn't really do that well at the Mets, though,
Yeah.
so I'm not sure how much this moves the needle. But again, opt out after 2. The thing is, if he doesn't perform well, he's probably not opting out, and you're stuck with it.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Chafin, he did pretty well last year, so there you go, 2 years, 13 million, not a bad price. And I mean, other than that, I don't really know how much else to say. I think that they've done some stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm actually even just more impressed by another team than I am. Originally, I started off impressed by by the Tigers until really after the lockout. I feel like a certain team has done a lot to really move their way up the pecking order a bit. So I think it's nice. I mean, look at their squad. You got Akil Babadoo in left, Robbie Grossman in right, Javi Baez at short, Jameer Candelero at third, Miguel Cabrera DHing, Jonathan Scope, former Oriole, is at second, Riley Green in center, Spencer Torkelson at first, and Tucker Barnhart at catcher. I think that's a pretty decent lineup, but I don't know if it does enough to challenge the White Sox.
Just some interesting notes, and you read two names off there: Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson. They were both the top two prospects in the Tigers system. So when they come up and make those debuts this year, their organization ranked 1 and 2. Torkelson before Green, but they were also overall ranked 5th and 6th, which is huge. I mean, that's when you're pulling up the fifth and sixth prospects in the league. And adding that to a lineup, obviously there's going to be some growth, right? But there's also going to be a lot of excitement. And I think, like reading off that lineup, Jordan, that's a decent lineup. Yes, you got a Miguel Cabrera coming down off of what has been a spectacular career. Probably one of the best to ever do it as far as hitting's concerned. 39 years old. I think he's got. I think he's under control for maybe 1 more year or something before his contract's out and he's done. But yeah, I like this lineup. I do think it does move the needle a little bit. Javi, I think, really improves that middle infield. He's probably one of the best defensive shortstops in the game, right behind Carlos Correa, who's also playing in the division. So you're going to get to see some really good shortstop play here in this division. But again, I do, like you said, I'm concerned about his bat. He hits about 250, a lot of holes in the swing. When he hits the ball, he hits it a long way. But I'm not sure it elevates them too much to where they're going to be contending against a team like the Chicago White Sox, maybe like some of these teams like the Minnesota Twins who made some nice additions. I just don't know, looking at this lineup, if it really stacks up against those other two.
I think their biggest issue is probably going to be pitching. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, Eduardo
Yes.
Rodriguez helps that, but
Yeah.
Fangraph projections have the rest of them going
Yes.
for about 4+ ERA. They're usually like Tyler Alexander looks to be high 3s, low
Mm-hmm.
4s from previous seasons. The ERA for Matt Manning last year, after how many innings is this? 85, only 85 innings, but was a 5.8 ERA. Takir Skubal, 4.5 ERA last year, 4.34. Casey Mize with a 3.71 last year, not bad after 150 innings. So I think that's probably going to be their biggest issue is their pitching. I think the lineup's going to be okay, but when you look at even their bullpen, doesn't move the needle enough for me. That, I mean, the White Sox bullpen is amazing. The White Sox pitching staff is great. Like, to me, it's not too much of a competition there.
Right. I mean, I would say even argue that the Royals have a good, relief staff. And you look at the Tigers, I mean, they've got hardly any guys underneath the 4 mark. And I mean, their best reliever last year was their closer, had a 3.9, he's projected to be a 3.9. Like, that's just not, I don't know. It's just not good for a team that's going to be in a division that's going to hit really well. That being said, one of the weaker divisions, I think, when you're kind of looking up and down. Like, I think you don't have that like star-studded team. I would guess the White Sox might be that team that they're trying to dethrone. But again, I don't see like a Dodgers or a Braves or a Mets or Red Sox, Rays, whatever it might be. You don't really see that in this division. But I think we're good with Detroit. I'd love to hear what are people's thoughts on Javi Baez coming over. Can Miguel Cabrera keep doing it at the ripe old age of 39? And do you like that addition of Erod at the top of the rotation, in a rotation that's really struggled over the last couple of years after coming down off such a high? I mean, you look back at the previous starters. I think at one point they had, what'd you say, Jordan? There 3 or 4 Cy Young winners, or have been Cy Young winners.
The Tigers, 2014, they had Scherzer, Verlander, and
is it Hannibal?
No, David Price.
David Price, that's who it was.
So. And the Orioles swept them all.
Do you remember Maglio Ordonez? I know that's a random thought, but do you remember the hair on Maglio?
Oh, I would have to look it up, I think.
You gotta look it up. I'm just like thinking of the Maglio. They've always been known for their hair in Detroit, I feel. Like, Javi's got some nice hair. Prince had some great hair. Like, Maglio's had some great hair. There's just been some solid hair there. I know that's really strange and random, but so anyway, now that we're done talking about hair, since I don't have any, I get kind of jealous. We can kind of look at their subtractions, but really, honestly, it didn't really stand out to me as anybody that they're losing. But again, I don't know if this team has enough to kind of compete with the top couple that we're going to get into here in a little bit, or at least one we're getting into. All right, let's see. Let's look at the Royals next then, Jordan. Some really interesting moves here. Zach Greinke added back. He's back. Amir Garrett trade. That was strange. And then Taylor Clark added in as well. Any thoughts on the Royals here? It's been a really quick descension into pretty much mediocrity. Thank you. Help me. So any thoughts here, Jordan, before we kind of break down the roster or look at some of that?
Not really.
Those Zach Greinke feelings? No. Hey.
No, I mean, he's kind of 38 and a half years old. He's near the end.
He is kind of that. Yeah, he is.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not too I think he'll be okay. But I don't think it's enough to do anything with them. I mean, their whole ERA is projected to be in the 4+ for their starters. I know that's just projections, but Fangraphs have all this stuff that they calculate into it. So I don't know. I don't see them really going anywhere this year. I think if you're a fan, you're going to be just really looking forward to seeing Bobby Witt Jr. come up.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big one. He's the overall rank number 2 this year behind Adley Rutschman, according to Fangraphs, with his organization rank of being the number 1 prospect. He's only not even 22 yet. He's going to come up and play third base. He's number 7. That's my number. I'm going to be watching Bobby Witt Jr. I think I've seen a lot of clips of him in the minors last year, and I think he's just going to be a whole bunch of fun to watch. So, yeah, I mean, if you're a Kansas City fan, that's probably what you're looking forward to.
17 home runs, 46 RBIs in AAA last year, 55 runs scored in 62 games. Had a batting average of 285 in the minors. That's hard to keep up. Like, that's hard to manage just because of the gruesome schedule and the travel. But yeah, Jordan, like you said, I've seen a couple of clips from him. He looks like a stud. I mean, this guy looks like he's going to rip this league apart. It kind of sucks though that, like, I'd have loved to see Whit Merrifield and like his prime and Bobby Witt like right after each other, and then Salvador, because it would have been like a 1-2-3 punch. Witt can still hit. He's a good hitter, good contact hitter, but I think he's kind of come down off of that where everybody wanted him from a couple of years ago. But looking at this roster, Jordan, I mean, there's some concerns I have. There's some interesting pieces. Merrifield's one on top of the list that I think, he's just going to continue to hit. He hits for, 270, 280, 290. He's that kind of guy now. Looking at the stats, Fangraphs has it projected at 281, Bobby Witt at 262, and Salvador Perez 261. Jordan, this is crazy. Salvador Perez had 48 home runs last year. Do you want to guess where Kansas City finished in the league for home runs?
Top 5?
27th. I heard that on Talking Baseball, and I was like, wait, what? So I looked it up. 27th. They're like bottom, 3 or 4 in the league. And they had one of the top home run hitting players set the record for catchers as far as home runs hit, 48. But again, interesting, an interesting roster, an interesting way to put a team together too, because if you're looking at this starting rotation, like you said, Jordan, I think this one's even more abysmal than Detroit. Zach Greinke, injury issues as of late. He was with Houston, had some injury issues, didn't really see him much last season, and really did kind of, have a hard time when he did pitch. 4.16 ERA. Just not the old Zach Greinke that I think Kansas City Royal fans are used to. And when they get him back, I'm not sure that's going to go so well for him there. Kind of stinks when this happens. But again, underwhelming starting staff. Anything else on the Royals before we kind of get into some other team news?
I think their lineup's going to be okay. Like you said, yeah. Salvador Perez, Bobby Witt Jr. is going to come up at a certain point. Benintendi, Hunter Dozier. I mean, he's not great, but I mean, they've got names you've heard of, right? So they'll be around. But where'd they finish last year? They finished with how many wins?
74.
74. Yeah, probably around that again this year. Honestly.
Yeah. I was going to say they'll get a little bit better. I think Salvador Perez, I don't think will be as good as he was last year. So you're going to have to kind of make up for that. But like you said, Jordan, I'm going to be watching a ton of these games just because I want to see Bobby Witt Jr. Play, and I think that he's excited. So, all right, I think that does it for Kansas City. Jordan, let's move on to the Minnesota Twins. Notable additions: Carlos Correa, Gary Sanchez, Gio Urshela, Chris Archer, Dylan Bundy, not to be mistaken for Ted, Sonny Gray coming over from the Reds. Notable subtractions: Donaldson. I'm not going to say that name again because last time I tried that was not fun. Fortved. Michael Pineda, Alex Colomb, Nick Vincent, and Adelton Simmons. Let me ask you about these additions, Jordan. What does this do for the Twins? Like, what does this mean for the Twins? Are they that much better now that they've added a guy like Carlos Correa?
Yes. People say about the Tigers being really good after adding Javi Baez.
Mm-hmm.
Carlos Correa is much better than Javi Baez. So you're getting somebody that is a leader. You're getting somebody that is like a 7-WAR player, and you're getting somebody that's going to maybe not have a lot of power, but he's going to have a high average. He's going to get on base. He's also very good defensively. You lose Donaldson, Rortvedt, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, even though he wasn't really theirs to begin with. They got him for like a few minutes and traded him away. But you bring in Gary Sanchez, Gio Urshela. They were serviceable for the Yankees. For a last-place Minnesota team, they'll be serviceable for them as well. Cutting Donaldson, Cash, and bringing in Cash for Correa is great. Byron Buxton is locked down now. I think they got a good lineup. And then you look at the pitching, you're like, maybe they didn't do enough, right? But they bring in Sonny Gray. They bring in Dylan Bundy. They bring in Chris Archer. These are people they could take a chance on. And it's either going to go well or it's not. But they got names in their starting rotation that have a history of success, but are going to have to see if they can do it again. And it's kind of like this bet that they're making right now of, can we make a run in these 3 years that we have Correa locked down, right? And if not, it all falls apart. You're not going to, he's going to opt out. Or, Chris Archer, I don't think the deal is for that long. It's 1 year, right? Something like that. Sonny Gray is on a trade. I'm not sure how much how much longer he has in his contract. I can check that. He would have a club option for 2023. So honestly, if this goes south this year, they could just kind of cut ties with almost all of this stuff and restart over again and still have Buxton locked down, which is really who they're trying to build around. But I think they've done the most in this division adding. I don't think it still gets them close enough to the White Sox, but I do think it pushes them enough past the Tigers and probably enough past Kansas City to leapfrog those two teams.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like you said, adding a 7.3 WAR player, it changes the team. Javi Baez had one of those kind of seasons a couple of years ago, but hadn't really had one since. But it was very similar for the Cubs. The Cubs weren't that great. The Cubs struggled, and without him, they would have really struggled. But then they finally got in. They got into one of those wild card games against the Rockies. He made it to where they were playoff contending, and it was because he was that good that season. And you can have that in baseball where you have one of these guys that are so good defensively and offensively that they really do propel the team. Like you said, Jordan, they'll contend for this. Or contend in this division. They've got a really weak division they're playing in. The Royals and the Indians are not going to be that good. Detroit's going to struggle some because their staff is just not as strong. And you got an aging roster kind of filling in with some of the younger guys. So there's guys that are inexperienced, guys that are a little bit too experienced and seasoned, and kind of losing steam. So that kind of leads us into the next part, Jordan. Give us your predictions. How are you lining it up in the AL Central? What do you have as far as your predictions? Who you got finishing first? Who you got finishing last?
All right. I got the White Sox in first.
That's mine.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Okay. There we go. I got the White Sox in first. I got the Twins second. I got Detroit third. Guardians fourth. Royals finishing fifth.
I like it.
And actually, you could probably switch Guardians Royals. I've kind of been debating that this whole time. But it's going to be close. Let's say that.
Did you give any thought Twins over White Sox?
Did I get any thought about the Twins over White Sox? No.
Yeah. Okay.
No. I think the White Sox pitching is just too good.
Mm-hmm.
The Twins are really banking on some of these people coming in and immediately gelling. That isn't always the case. But with all the moves they made, I feel like I had to give it over Detroit.
Makes sense. All right, throw mine up. Let's see what we got.
Yeah, this was spoiled already, but here you go.
Oh, wow. I haven't seen these before. All right, so White Sox 1, Twins second, Guardians third, Detroit fourth, and the Royals fourth. Third, fourth, fifth. Sorry, the Royals fifth. Is that right? Did I put the Detroit Tigers below the...
You did. I was kind of blown away by it. But
all right, so let's go with it. You know what, Jordan? I'm going to go with it. All right. Guardians had a decent season last year. right? I'm basing this off of the fact that I don't think Javi Baez is enough. I think their staff and bullpen are awful. I just don't feel like they're better than the Guardians in the way that I think the Guardians have kind of those sneaky teams. And under Terry Francona, I do feel like the Guardians are a little bit more solid than Detroit. Now, you're probably like, well, he doesn't believe that because he just really seemed confused as to why the Tigers were below the Guardians. However, I'm just going to say this. I think that the aging roster for Detroit, the inexperience mixed with the very seasoned, overcooked veterans, I think is going to be kind of a weird mix for them. And I really am concerned about their starting staff. And then they have to get to that bullpen. That was just not great. So I do think that when you do kind of add those and combine those, I do think the Guardians end up on top. But I didn't really think anything out of these top two. Like the Sox, like you said, I think their pitching is just so good. Tony La Russa at the helm just knows how to win. And then I think the Twins are still a work in progress. I also think Carlos Correa is always on a contract year, right? So, he can opt out after any of these years that he wants. And I feel like that's detrimental more than it helps preserve the team's, abilities to kind of progress forward because you just don't know if he'll stay around. So I don't know. Their lineup is a little bit underwhelming for me too. Like it's good, but it's not great. And I think the White Sox could get to great.
All right.
All righty. I'm so used to you hosting. I was waiting for you.
I know. I was like, he's probably stuck.
All right. So, all right. NL Central, Jordan, my guys, my division. Let's do it.
Yes, this is very important to you. So let's see how it goes.
All right. Let's see. A couple tears might be shed, but that's all right. It's really hard.
If you want to break from talking, I can lead this.
Do it.
Where they stood last year.
Do it.
Okay. So the NL Central finished with the Brewers with 95 wins and 67 losses. They lost to the Braves in the NLDS. The St. Louis Cardinals, 90 wins, 72 losses. They lost the wild card game to the Dodgers. Cincinnati Reds finished third with 83 wins, 79 losses. And the Cubs finished fourth with 71 wins, 91 losses. And the Pirates finished fifth with 61 wins and 101 losses. I almost gave them a good record there. Yeah, so this is, like you said, your division. Tell me a little bit about, I guess, how you feel like how you feel going into the season with the Cubs.
I feel a lot better than I did last year, which is really weird to say because we had all those guys last year. But I think when we traded Yu Darvish last year, that almost signaled to me that the time was coming. It did feel like Chris Bryant was going to leave. I was okay with that. I'm not sure Chris is good, but I don't think Chris was ever going to be that great after, he's had those down years after he got hurt. It just never seemed like it was going to be the same again. Rizzo was on the decline. Javi was one that we were really still excited about and felt that he would be the best option to kind of stick around. But again, like Schwarber had left. It just seemed like everything was kind of just falling apart from the team that won the World Series in 2016. And then you throw on the fact that the Brewers remain consistently good. The Cardinals are always good. They can't have bad years in St. Louis. It's just not their kind of thing, which is wild to say. And every time I look at the Cardinals, I'm jealous and envious of that franchise. The Reds were getting better last year, Jordan, and we'll talk about the Reds this show or coming up, and it's really strange what they did. But really, Jordan, I was banking on the fact that the Pirates were awful. But yeah, just kind of looking at the division. Last year, the Cardinals got hot and made the playoffs in a division that I thought was only going to have one clear chance to contend in the playoffs. And then the Cardinals caught fire, caught up and almost got up to the Brewers, which was kind of shocking. But, still finished 5 games short, but 17-game win streak last year in the middle of that season, kind of wrapping it up. And that kind of leaves us where we are today. The Brewers bounced out of the LDS. We'll get into it, I guess, but the Brewers are the first on our list, and we're going to kind of talk about why I think they do still have a team that can contend, but I'll also tell you a little thing that I'm going to predict, or at least tell you why they might not be good contenders. So let's get into it. Brewers, all right. Notable additions: signed Andrew McCutchen back in the NL Central after spending some time outside of the division. I think he was with the Phillies, and was that it? Was he with anybody else?
I believe so, but he was with the Phillies last year.
Yeah. So I knew he was the Phillies, but I couldn't remember if he'd had gone somewhere else. Hunter Renfroe from the Boston Red Sox, and then notable subtractions: Eduardo Escobar to free agency, Jackie Bradley Jr. back to the Red Sox.
To answer your question, yes, McCutchen was a Giant in 2018 and a Yankee in 2018.
Okay. All right. So he did. And then they lost Daniel Vogelbach to free agency, who he's now signed with a division rival. But Jordan, you really liked the Andrew McCutchen deal, because I know you and I talked about it a little bit when he was added. Are these good moves for the Brewers? I don't know much about Hunter Renfroe besides the fact that he was pretty decent in Boston for some time, and then it seemed like he was okay to be shipped out. So, is that a good addition? What are we looking at for the Brewers as far as those two are concerned?
Renfroe's okay. Last year he batted 259.
Mm.
Out of how many at bats did he have? He had 572 plate appearances. So it's decent, I guess. I mean, in these day and age, it's really hard to tell what's a good average because people just don't hit that much anymore. Part of the sticky stuff, part of how fast people are throwing. It's kind of a bummer. He's kind of batted around that, though. I mean, 2019, he was as low as 216 batting. And 2020, a very short season for him, only 139 appearances for the plate, 156 average. So, I mean, he had an up year for the Red Sox last year. I'm not really sure. I'm not sure how well. I don't think they really liked Jackie Bradley Jr. there. I don't think he really did much for them. So this might just be see what happens when both of them move different cities. Andrew McCutchen, he's getting up there in age, but he's still probably going to bat 230, 240. And I think they needed some more offense.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like they have him for Fangraph slotted in as a DH. That makes a lot of sense. But I still thought he played pretty well for the Phillies at times. So their issue right now is Christian Yelich hasn't been himself, right?
Yes.
Batting 2020 was a 205 average. Last year was 248. Before that, he was batting 329, 326, 282. So he is like, actually, yeah, these are the two lowest years for him. Before that was 280s or 300s. So if he continues going down that slide, that might be a little tougher a bounce back for the Brewers. But let's not forget, they made the trade for Willy Adames mid-season in 2021. That's when the Rays went with getting ready to call up Wander Franco, who's ready to come up now as a shortstop. They had, somebody that they're able to move. They signed Pedro Savarino, former Oriole catcher. He's not going to add much. He's going to be a good bench option, days that you need to rest Omar Narvaez. Other than that, I mean, their pitching is really what makes them, right? Their pitching, Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, Freddie Peralta, Adrian Hauser, that's who we should really be looking at is the pitching there. And then Josh Hader being the closer, and the bullpen that they have is still pretty good. I think that's what gives them the edge. I'm not going to share my prediction yet, but I think that gives them an edge in this division. Just looking at this lineup, they need more offense, and I think they got it a little bit with Renfroe and McCutchen. But again, I mean, if Yelich has a bounce back MVP candidate type season, then no way are they going to lose this division.
Yeah, so I mean, just watching it last year unfold, like you said, it was a matter of really good pitching and a very lackluster offense, and you hit it right on the head. Christian Yelich hitting 9 home runs, and I know he's been hurt off and on over the last couple of years, and he's been in and out of the lineups. He actually got dropped by Craig Counsell some just randomly throughout the season, just kind of preserve him a little bit, but he really hasn't been the same since that tear that he went on that he could have won MVP had. I think it was Cody Bellinger at the point. That was really good in that season as well.
And both of them have just
yes, both
not,
yeah, right.
I don't know, since that season have gone down.
Yes, and that's my thing. And you'll see in the predictions where I have them, but the reason I have them so high in this division is their pitching so good. Because if you look around the rest of the division, this is a very horrible division. So, and to preface that, like the Cardinals are good, but they have huge holes. The Brewers are good, but they've got holes. The Cubs are getting better. They've got massive holes. They need some pitching. They need some hitting. The Reds are selling everybody and their brother. The Pirates are the worst team in this league. So, I mean, you're looking at a really horrible division, Jordan, and honestly comparable to, I think the AL Central is going to be better this year. And that unfortunately really hurts the NL Central because now I think they're up against probably the AL West as far as if you're looking at the divisions, which ones are the worst. I think you're looking at those two. And I think this one, unfortunately, it's a good thing the Cardinals and the Brewers are consistently good, but these are two very average teams. If you put either of these teams in some of the other divisions, they might be a second or third place team, just because I don't think they've got enough. But we'll kind of get into that. But yeah, like you said, Corbin Burns, having him at the top of the rotation, we get to see him on opening day in a cold Wrigley Field, so that'll be a blast and a half. Brandon Woodruff and then Freddie Peralta and Adrian Hauser. Like the fact that Adrian Hauser is even a bad name on that roster, in that rotation as the number 4 starter, and how well he did last year, like that's absurd. Like it's absurd. They were almost under 3 ERA. Like that's just unnatural. And then you got one of the best bullpens in the league when you got Josh Hader and you got Devin Williams, you got Brad Boxberger, Brent Suter, Aaron Ashby. I mean, those guys can hurl. And they make me want to hurl at times because when you get to the 6th inning against the Brewers and you haven't scored, you're never scoring again. So it's like it doesn't end with them. But like you said, their offense is going to be awful. And I think it still is going to be kind of brutal to watch at times. If you look back at the stats from last year, Jordan, 27th in average, and that's where it really struggles. On base percentage, 20th. You can't have that. You can't win a World Series with that kind of performance on the offensive side. Andrew McCutchen's going to add home runs, but he doesn't get on base a ton. So I guess we'll see. It's a very much wait and see. I know a lot of people are touting them as like maybe a sleeper pick for the World Series. I don't buy it. You can get into the playoffs and make a nice run with those starters that they have. But ultimately, I don't see them running up against the Dodgers or Braves and being successful because those
even the
teams,
Mets,
right? Yeah,
I mean, I think those, and if you're going to go offensively, I like what the Phillies have done. So
that's true.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for Milwaukee. They have to win their division to have a chance because I don't think a wild card team is coming out of here. Maybe. I mean, maybe the 2nd place team can get a wild card spot with the added wild card, but it's going to be tough when you look at how good the East is stacked and how good the West is stacked with some of these teams that you're going to want to win the division.
All right, let's move on to the next team, the St. Louis Cardinals. They add Steven Matz. That's a huge deal for the Cardinals. Honestly, though, they're so good at replenishing pitching. It's unbelievable. And they got the return of Albert Pujols, Jordan. Much more of a signing that's like warming of the heart than it is going to be production-wise. But that being said, he still is consistent enough to add in at least some expertise in that lineup. And I think he's got some pop still that could play well in this division.
Here's the thing about Pujols. Last year, he had one of his – I mean, he had a better season in 2020.
Yeah.
Looking at home run-wise, pretty much on par with how he's been since 2018.
Mm-hmm.
19 in 2018, 23 in 2019, 6 in 2020, 17 last year. But he's probably going to get more at bats now because he's going to be a DH. Before, they wouldn't want to have, a 42-year-old guy out there taking up, having to play defensively. He would either get pinch hit or have to be out in the field. He's going to get more at bats, which I think means he's going to probably get some more home runs. I think he's only 20 some away from, or 17 away from 700 home runs or something. How many home runs does he have? He has 679. Is that right?
Sounds right.
Yeah, so he needs 21 home runs to hit 700. That's kind of in line with how many he hits in a season. If he's going to get some more at-bats this year, then it's doable. Last year he left the Angels and went to the Dodgers. The Dodgers probably didn't play him as much. The Angels wanted to get rid of him because they had somebody up and coming for first base as it is. So I don't know. I think he's got a shot to get to 700 home runs. And while it is a nice homecoming story, he did announce this is his last year. Mm-hmm. So I think you might see a new Pujols or an old Pujols.
A revitalized Pujols.
Yes.
Yeah. I as a Cubs fan, this is going to sound crazy, and if any Cubs fans are listening, they're yelling at me. But my brother's a Cubs fan. I've always respected the Cardinals.
Your brother's a Cardinals fan.
Sorry, thank you. My brother is a Cardinals fan. I'm the Cubs fan, and I've always respected this franchise. John Mozeliak does a really nice job in their front office and has always done a nice job in their office. They do it right, and they do it by the book. And honestly, they've always been built for success. I can't remember a time when the Cardinals have ever been bad. Maybe underwhelming, but not bad. And this city will let you know when they're bad. But yeah, it's cool to see him. I hope he does well this year. I really hope that he has a successful return. I hope they play him on opening day. I feel like that would be a shaft if they didn't play him the first game out of the gate.
Are they home?
I want to say no, but I guess I'll check just to make sure that I'm not making that up. But I want to say
if they're home for sure, I think they will.
Right, because they should. I feel like they.
Who else would DH? What do they got? Oh, they got Corey Dickerson listed as DH for. That's a free agent addition that we didn't put on there. Mm-hmm. But Corey Dickerson, they have him DHing with Pujols on bench, but.
Mm-hmm. But that'll flip. I think that'll flop a lot. Sosa
21,
as well.
21 years in the major leagues, Albert Pujols. I'm 30 years old. Yeah. He premiered when I was 9 years old.
Yeah. Dude, it was wild. Like, it was right after. I mean, it was coming out of the McGuire. Like, oh, man. Like, this was McGuire, and now it's this guy. Like, who the hell is this kid? Man, that was a scary team when they had him, Berkman. They had guys like Mike Matheny, Scott Rowland, Jim Edmonds. Like, that was a scary team. But, yeah, I mean, looking at the Cardinals, they add, like you said, Dickerson. They lose John Lester retirement. Johnny, I love you. Can't believe you went to St. Louis, though. J.A. Happ to free agency, who goes to Philadelphia. Andrew Miller to retirement. Matt Carpenter, longtime Cardinal and legend, goes to the Rangers. Carlos Martinez to free agency. And Hyun Kim back to the KBO League. But Jordan, I mean, looking at this roster, they're stacked offensively. They have guys that they're just baller. They hit for a good average. They're constantly on base. It's always the Cardinals' forte is always getting on base and smacking in guys. No matter who's hitting, who comes up, it doesn't matter. Guys can get hurt. It doesn't matter. They'll replace them. It always happens. I've seen this story way too many times. But they're going to field a lineup of Tommy Edman, Paul Goldschmidt, Tyler O'Neill, Nolan Arenado, Dylan Carlson, Yadier Molina, Corey Dickerson, Paul DeYoung, and then Harrison Bader. 1 through 9, Jordan, those guys can rake. And a team that I think, if they get good pitching from the ageless Adam Wainwright, If they can get Michaelis to kind of bounce back from some of the times that he's had, and he's had some Cy Young looking years too. If they can get Steven Matz to pitch. Like, this is a solid roster. And I think they can push the Brewers a little bit.
And Jack Flaherty too, who's
Oh yeah,
injured
totally
right now.
Jack.
So I mean, when he comes back, watch out. But I think this is a good one. Look, I think this is going to be a really close division race. I think it'll be closer than the 5 games from last year.
Yep.
And that's why I said you're going to want to win this division, because they were so close to winning this division. They lost by 5 games. They get bounced out by the Dodgers in the wild card. Imagine if they had made it to the NLDS, they could have probably put up something of a fight against the Braves. But instead, they had to try to get in with the wild card, couldn't, and you go up against 100-some win Dodger team. That's why you're going to want to win the division.
Right. And you're right, Jordan. Like, the East and the West are going to have a lot of playoff teams, and all of them are going to be just like in the East, just like I think in the AL East and the AL West. Like, I think you're going to have more so the AL East, but you're going to have a lot of teams that stack up 90 wins, and you're going, how the hell am I supposed to beat that? Like, we couldn't even get 80 in our division, and we play the Pirates and the Reds a bunch, like, and the Cubs. So it's like, why can't we stack up wins? But you're right. If you're going to win out of this division and progress through the playoffs, you need to be above 90 wins, I think that's ultimately how that's going to go, and you need to win this division. But I'm in agreement with you. I think under 3 games, like, I think it's going to be like a 1, 2, 3 game race. Like, I honestly think it's going to be that close.
Could be really exciting. I think this could be an exciting division for that race.
Yep. All right.
It was last year even, really. The Reds were doing well, and then St. Louis got hot, and they surpassed the Reds, and now the Reds finished with, 78 wins?
Yes.
It wasn't as close near the end there, but, like, summer, it was getting a little crazy.
Yeah. All right. You ready, Jordan? Let's do it. Let's talk about the Cubbies. The Chicago Cubs. They come in having added scrolled up too high. They signed Marcus Stroman. I should just know this off the top of my head. Seiya Suzuki, Jonathan VR, Adderlson Simmons, Drew Smiley, which I like. And they lost Zach Davies, Austin Romine, and Robinson Chirinos. They lost some depth in the catcher spot, but they're going to be okay, I think, in the catcher spot. They've got Wilson Contreras for now, but that might soon become something of a distant memory as we approach the deadline. But we'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, looking at the signings, Jordan, Marcus Stroman, a very solid top of the line starting pitcher, 1-2 or 2-1, whether it's going to be Kyle Hendricks or him to throw on opening day.
Fangraphs have Stroman projected, so maybe.
Yeah, they also added Wade Miley, who was before the pick.
Yes.
So that like the deadline. So the CBA has thrown everything off. Everything before that, you and I, like, for some reason, it's hard to find on Fangraphs.
We talked about it already.
Right. Yeah.
We already talked about Stroman back when it first happened, but and Scherzer and stuff.
Right.
But all of that stuff you have to kind of refamiliarize yourself with.
Yes. So, I like this team, Jordan. I really do. And coming out of a year where, my heart broke every single day in July. It felt like watching all these guys leave that I think many Cub fans thought we'd be sitting here today thinking about the fact that we re-signed a Chris Bryant or Javi Baez. None of them are around anymore. The only ones left are Jason Hayward, Kyle Hendricks, and Wilson Contreras, Ian Happ as well. So it's really sad to kind of see those guys go. But that being said, Jordan, I think Jed Hoyer in this group with the Ricketts has done this fantastic job. They've gone out and spent. We've had, a lot of fans really speculating as to, like, why they weren't spending money. Was it because they were interested in the soccer clubs? Was it interested in, other sports teams and they just weren't spending money because of the pandemic? Well, we got our answer now. We go out and get one of the top-of-the-line starters who's been one of the best starters in the game for quite some time, and Marcus Stroman. Wade Miley had a fantastic year with the Reds. You go out and sign to Seiya Suzuki, who could be and very well could become one of the faces of this, league as far as the Japanese league is concerned. Hit his first home run yesterday in spring training. He's got that ability. I think he's got the potential. And then they had some really nice depth pieces as far as Adderlson Simmons and Jonathan VR, who I always enjoyed watching. He was with the Brewers at one point. I know he's with the Orioles. And then Drew Smiley. We've had Drew before, and this is kind of one of those project signings that the Cubs make. The Cubs will do this every once in a while. They will make these, non-committal signings and hope they pitch well so they can kind of flip them around for some prospects. But again, speaking of prospect, that's what the Cubs are kind of looking for. And I don't mean to talk too much, but going through their lineup, it's Rafael Ortega, Frank Schwindel, Wilson Contreras, Ian Happ, and this is all according to Fangraphs. I have other thoughts. Seiya Suzuki, Jason Hayward, Patrick Wisdom, Adderlson Simmons, and Nick Madrigal. I imagine Madrigal will be their leadoff hitter just because he's that elite contact kind of guy. Nico Horner, when he gets back and healthy, he's an elite top prospect that we had at one point. And those are both middle infielders, shortstop, second base. Nico can play anywhere, really. Rafael Ortega raked the ball, absolutely crushed it last season. So that's kind of why I think Fangraphs has him first. But yeah, man, I'm excited about this team. I'm looking at their rotation being their weak spot. But I guess I'll let you have the floor. You have anything to say about the Cubs before I?
You think the rotation's a weak spot? I actually really like this rotation. Stroman, Hendricks, Smiley.
Kyle hasn't been as consistent lately. He's had in the past couple of years. I'll tell you what it is. It's not. I don't think it's number 2 worthy starts. Okay. Like I think there are times where Kyle looks like the number 2 starter, but then there's times where Kyle looks like he shouldn't be throwing. It's like, oh no. And it's always been early contact against Kyle is disastrous for him. So I don't know. It'll depend on what kind of Kyle Hendricks we get. But Wade Miley, I love. But after that, like an Alec Mills, like relying on an Alec Mills and Drew Smiley, health concerns, issues with the arm, I worry about that. But if those two can stay healthy, then I like it a little bit more as far as, the back end of this.
Look, I'm envious of the starting rotation.
Right.
I don't know. I like what the Cubs have done. Seiya Suzuki, he's going to be – it's like get on the hype train now. I mean, it's not going to be as hype as Ohtani because he pitches and hits. Yeah. But, I mean, look, if Fangraphs is right and this guy bats 287, like that's amazing. Watch out because that's going to be a lot of fun. He's still only 27 years old. So, of course, the way that works is you play in Japan a bit. You come posting over like this. So you're not, kind of coming at your earliest time. But still 27 is young. I think he could really add something to this team. I'm not so sure on Simmons on how well he'll be at short. I like Nick Madrigal. I liked what I saw from him when he was at the White Sox. Maybe they gave up on him too early. I'm not sure, but yeah, I
Clint Frazier
really have on it. Too. Patrick Wisdom, I keep forgetting is 30 years old because he came up so late.
And Frank the Tank. Like they're all 30. Like they're all roughly 30. It's an older roster. But
man.
Yeah. But Clint Frazier.
And they have like no service time.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all late bloomers. Like Frank the Tank and Patrick Wisdom are all late bloomers. I think the best part about Patrick was Patrick came from the Cardinal system. So that's a lot more fun when he does well.
You can rub it in their face.
Yeah, exactly. But I like the addition of Yan Gomes as a backup to Wilson when Wilson is traded because I think that's ultimately going to be in the books. He comes out of contract this year, so they'll lose him to free agency anyway. And, I mean, honestly, Jordan, they performed some magician type of stuff last year when they had all these guys going off the books and were able to pull some of these top prospects like a Pete Crow Armstrong. They got guys like that. They got guys like Parasato. So it'll be interesting to see where they kind of go from here. But again, their prospects are coming. They're all very young. So again, they're even younger than your prospects. So we won't see a lot of these guys except maybe Brennan Davis until 24, 25. But again, I'm excited at the direction of the Cubs. It'll all be dependent on can Patrick Wisdom and Frank match what they did last year. If they do that, Jordan, I do think they could be a sneaky wild card. Like I really do feel like if we can add an arm or maybe another bat, this team, it does have the core, I think now, again, if they play like they did last year, to be really competitive in this division.
I think they'll be competitive, but I'm going to knock you down a peg. I don't think they're sniffing a wild card spot.
You don't think so?
Yeah. I don't think so. I think the Giants are still going to be good in the West. I think when you also add in maybe the Padres still do
Yeah.
decently. And then you look at the Dodgers, there's 3 teams there.
Right.
And then all the 3 teams in the East, that's 6 playoff teams as it is, and that's not how this sport's going to work, right? How
Right.
many playoff teams are there? 6
There's
each, right? Um
7. There's 7 now.
No, 12 in each, 12, right? So 6 in
Oh,
each
sorry. Yeah,
thing.
6. Yeah.
So I just named 6 teams, but
Right.
I left out the Central, which means you're going to get maybe 2 of those spots.
Right.
And I don't know. I think the Cardinals and Brewers
Yeah.
are better.
Yeah.
Not to burst your bubble. I
No, no,
do
no.
like what the
Like,
Cubs do.
I do think.
I think if anything, next year would be a really good shot
Yeah.
to try to run in a wild card.
Right. I think not. I wouldn't say like I'm definitely saying we're sniffing it. I'm saying if they perform like they did last year, this team I think did make enough moves to where if they add another arm, then I think if they add an arm and a bat at the trade deadline, I think a wild card spot is not too far to of a reach to ask possibly going like if say you add a number 1 or 2 or 3, and then you have Wade Miley pitching like he did last year. You have Stroman pitching well. You have Hendricks pitching well. I think you do get to a point where maybe that's an 84, 85 win team rather than I think 74 is their projected. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I'm not saying they're going to get the wild card. I'm just going to put that out there right now. My predictions. I just meant if they get a bat and an arm, then that is very likely. But that's pretty much a lot of other teams too. So let's move on to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Speaking of playoffs, they can pretty much kiss those goodbye as soon as they start the season. The Pittsburgh Pirates, Jordan signed Roberto Perez, Yoshi Suzuko, Jose Quintana, Daniel Vogelbach, and Zach Thompson. They lose Jacob Stallings, Colin Moran, Stephen Brault, and Chad Kuhl, who those are some big names to lose and not really great additions. Jordan, what are your thoughts on the Pirates? Are they the worst team in the Major League?
Yeah, I think so. I know that's saying a lot as Orioles fan here, but they're talking about shopping Brian Reynolds
Right.
to the Padres. That's not good. I feel like they haven't really like you want to bring up these guys and actually have something exciting for your fans. The Orioles are going to be bringing up some guys soon. Pittsburgh seems like they're still ready to ship some of these out. Brian Reynolds is only 27 years old with 2 service years. You have Brian Hayes that, is one of your all-stars. Are you going to start shipping him out too? I'm just confused with where they're going here. I think they could potentially be the worst team in baseball. Because while I think the Orioles are going to be bad, I think with them calling up some of these young guys, it's going to be enough to push the Orioles forward a bit. And I think they were only a few games off of the O's as it is. So, I think Pittsburgh might just be the worst team in baseball.
Yeah. They've got some pieces to kind of look forward to, but again, like you said, if you look at their prospects, O'Neal Cruz, I think is estimated to be really good and starting this year, be good and on. I think that's a highlight. But other than that, I mean, you got Brian Hayes, who I think is going to be a really good player. But again, I just worry about anybody on the Pirates because I know their past and I know their history of the fact that they seem to get rid of good talent. They're one of those teams that once they get good talent, it goes to waste. They end up trading it and then they become good elsewhere. And that's just kind of been their forte over the last couple of years, at least over the last decade. So it's just been tough to watch them, and it's tough to, and plus they keep trying to trade with the Rays. It's like, just stop trading with the Rays. We've talked about this, but I mean, yeah, Brian Hayes, Cole Tucker. I mean, those guys are guys that I think you're kind of looking at and go, all right, this could be something. But when the top of your rotation is Jose Quintana, that's where you kind of go, oh, that's how. Okay, we're doing this.
Yeah, I mean that's all I really have to say.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for Pirate fans. I know how it feels at times, but it really just seems like they made that one type of run in the 1 or 2 years when they had McCutcheon doing
2014.
well.
Oh, yeah, sorry,
They
back
made a
then. Yep.
good run back then, and that was
Yep.
it. And
Yep.
if they do trade Brian Reynolds, I don't. That's a piece you build around. I don't know
Mhm.
why you would go ahead and apparently maybe they would get pitching for that is the word that they're trying to get some of those prospects for pitching that the Padres have, but which they need. It's tough. It would be a very tough thing for the Pirates. We didn't even talked the Reds yet.
No.
Just realized
And
that.
yeah, and now that we're getting ready to, let's do it. It this is another sad situation. Two sad situations in the Central. The Reds, notable additions. They signed Tommy Pham. They sign Donovan Solano. They go and acquire Mike Minor. They had Justin Dunn in a trade that involved Jesse Winker. They add Chase Petty in a trade that involves Sonny Gray. And they also lost Amir Garrett to the Royals, which we already talked about. But those are, I mean, they lost Sonny Gray, Jesse Winker, Eugenio Suarez, and Amir Garrett. Jordan, those are huge losses. And they bring in Tommy Pham and Mike Minor, I guess. I mean, just like Jordan, the famous Taylor Twellman would say, "What are we doing?
What are we
Like,
doing?
what are we doing? What are the Reds doing, Jordan?"
What are they doing? They're cutting they're cutting salaries. What they're doing? Cutting salary. Look, they got the MVP, not the MVP. They got the NL Rookie of the
Yeah,
Year, Jonathan India,
yeah.
and they're not even gonna build around him. It looks like they're gonna send. With the trade, they send Winker to Seattle. Now, what we've heard, this is something I heard recently. The GM for Seattle, Dipoto, said that the player to be named later in that is actually a pretty big deal, and some people say it's going to change the perception of that trade to lean more towards Cincy. So maybe they know what they're doing. I don't know, but look, Joey Votto, 38 years old. He's not going to be around much longer. Mike Moustakas is all right. Tommy Pham, like you said, that's not going to really move the needle. Thought he was a weak link in San Diego, and not sure what he's going to do here. But their pitching is going to be pretty rough, I think, because they got rid of some, losing Sonny Gray is another big thing. But they're promoting Hunter Green for opening day, which is fun. Like, that's fun because so far they're the only team that seems to be wanting to put one of their prospects on opening day with the new CBA. So at least they have something to look forward to, unlike Pirate fans at this point. So I do like that move. But overall, I don't think their pitching's there. I don't think the batting is really there. It could be a tough year. And the issue with this is they were close. Right? They were close. 83 and 79. They were above 500. You should be building around that team, and they're tearing it down. So until we see that player to be named later, we got to judge it off with what we know. And what we know is that it seems like they're just cutting costs.
To make matters worse, Luis Castillo and Mike Minor today were added to the injured list. It it seems, Jordan, that Castillo is gone soon. Like, he's another one that I think was rumored it was a hot commodity on the trade market. Nobody could, I think, stack up any kind of offer that would pull him away from Cincinnati. But I think as time goes on, right, like you trade that for prospects. I mean, if you want to rebuild this team, you want to rebuild it right, and it seems like they're trying to with the trade to Seattle with Winker and Eugenio Suarez. I think you try to pull as many top prospects with Luis Castillo because he's one of those. He's going to be one of those guys at the trade deadline market down that teams are going to be filing and shuffling into line for, because I think they really do have something in that where he could be a 1-2 punch. There's a cat behind me, but yeah, she agrees. She likes Luis Castillo, but yeah, this is sad. It was so weird because I felt like they had a core there. Like, what were they like? What? I'm so confused by what the Reds did.
The Winker trade is tough. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
that's the only way they could get somebody to take on Suarez.
Yeah,
but that's tough. Your cat's tail is wrapped around your wire too. She's gonna pull your headset off.
Yeah, and she's like laying on me.
Yeah, that's so cute.
So, yeah, huge fan of the Reds' moves as my cat. But no, I mean, you look at this team, and this team is just really bad. But Jordan, let's predict it. Let's do it. Let's end the show. My cat's like tired of me being on here. Jordan, what are your predictions for the NL Central? Cubs win the division, as you said.
Let me make sure I click the right one here. Okay. This is mine. We got the Brewers first, the Cardinals second, the Cubs third, the Reds fourth, and the Pirates fifth. Which is actually the same exact as yours. So I'll put yours up now as well.
Hey, look at that.
And I'd already made mine. And once you said this was yours, I was like, all right, don't have to edit that one. Just have to change it from Jordan to Logan, and we're good to go.
I feel like this is 100%. Like if you had like it lined up, this would almost be like 99% of everybody's division, I think.
Probably.
Except Cardinal fans, maybe. But yeah, anything to say about it? I mean, the Brewers have too good at pitching. I think their hitting is there's a lot to be desired, but I just don't know if the Cardinals. The other thing about the Cardinals too, they do get injured a lot, and
they're old. You know, Yachty, Molina, Pujols, Wainwright.
Yeah,
a good chunk of that core is 39 plus.
Right.
For their big stars, I guess you would say.
Yeah. So, all right, Jordan, we did it. We're 2/3 of the way down. We've got one more to go. That'll be the
Before we go, we did not talk the Shohei rule. So I think we might want to just touch on that real quick. Yeah. Today was the first spring training game with it, and what that means is that Shohei is able to be the DH and the pitcher so when he gets taken out of the game for pitching, he doesn't have to go in the field to keep his bat in like they did last year where they put him in right or left field. They will just be able to keep him as a DH. So they're calling it the Ohtani Rule. Your thoughts, Logan, on this rule?
Protects the health of the player. I like it in the fact that he can stay in the lineup. It's what we want in baseball, right? We want that guy to stay in the lineup and be able to hit and continue to provide his power on offense. And people go for the show, right? They go for Shohei. They want to see him play. And if you take him out after pitching, he's a bad game throwing the ball. You don't want to put him in right. You want to save his arm. You see him for 3 innings, and then you're like, man, I just paid a lot of money to see Shohei not play. This preserves him. This preserves his arm. This is good for the game. It's good for youth because I think now a lot of youth players will be like, hey, I want to hit and pitch, right? So it does. It gives us more options for that two-way player. I think it is coming. More people will be coming down the line. As far as the two-way player, I don't think there's going to be a massive amount, but I do think that we're going to see or start to see more of these two-way players, which it's always good for the game. It's way more exciting. You got to see it in person. I mean, what are your thoughts on it?
It's fun. I mean, look, that's what I was worried about the whole time. That first game I went when he's pitching, right, is, okay, when he gets taken out, is he going to still bat? The answer was no in that game. They didn't put him back in the field, I don't think. So,
right.
That it is how it is at times. And you want your stars on the field. And this will set precedents because there will be other two-way players. They may not come from America because the issue with America is how much we specialize our kids already into pitching, where they are like pitcher only. I just heard about this. There's some that are just pitchers and at like 11 or 12 years old, and they're not going to be able to learn how to hit the ball. So maybe more of these Japanese players will be able to come over, or Korean players will be able to come over and be more two-way stars. But I think this will eventually change our youth system as well, because people are going to watch Shohei and want to do what he does. And it's always best to not specialize kids until, like college. Have them play every position, have them learn everything. So that way, you have a whole bunch of utility fielders out there.
Right. Nope, good rule. I think we both agree on it. And I can't wait to see a game with him. I really want to see Shohei play. And I know you'll probably get to see him a little bit more too. So I think we're both looking forward to that. And hopefully he can make it to the World Series at one point, but I don't know if that'll ever happen with their team. So
once he leaves the Angels.
Yeah. So that being said, we will preview them on the next show. We'll talk some Shohei. We'll talk some Mike Trout, talk some Dodgers and why they're probably never going to lose a game. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the AL West, NL West. The week is coming where we're going to see some Major League Baseball, and that's exciting. Next Thursday. But yeah, anything else to add before we kind of bounce out of here? I know you want to plug your Oriole interview that you just did with
Bob Phelan from On the Verge was on our show. You can find it on the Extra Innings Baseball Show feed and the YouTube channel if you're interested, but you can also find it on Word from the Warehouse, the Oriole feed that we'll be having as well. So check that out. That's just a nice 20-25 minute interview of what to look forward to as an Oriole fan with the minor leaguers coming through and what names to look out for in the next couple of years. So that was a fun interview. We just want to thank Bob again for coming on.
All right. If you want to follow us, you can find us on Facebook at Extra Inning Baseball Show. You can also find me blurry here on this podcast. But no, Twitter, Extra Innings Show, Instagram, Extra Innings Baseball Show. We are the Extra Innings Baseball Show. You can rate us on anywhere you find podcasts now. I guess you can rate us on anything now. It seems like they all have ratings. So please rate us, retweet us, like us. Don't dislike us if you think we're ugly. Jordan more so than myself, but yeah, it's been fun. I can't wait for the season to start. We will do our season kind of projection show where we'll do some MVP, Cy Young, maybe I guess some dark horses. We'll fill out some of the playoffs predictions and stuff like that. Pick a World Series winner because we're always going to be right on that one. Maybe some, I don't know, dark horse stuff, but yeah, we'll just shoot the breeze next time we'll actually do AL West and AL East. Sorry.
No, AL West, NL West.
Yep, thank you. Couldn't get that done. But yeah, we'll do that, and then we'll do our season preview. Those will be next week sometime. That'll be a lot of fun because we'll have to record quite a bit next week, but yeah, looking forward to it. And if you just give us a follow, thanks for listening. And we'll see you again next time when we preview the NL West and the AL West. Thanks for listening.
The Extra Innings Baseball Show is hosted by Logan Stump, edited and produced by Jordan Wiegand. And we hope that everybody enjoys us talking some baseball in this MLB 2022 season that is upcoming. Thank you.